Okay, so what would I say to a friend I am encouraging to join Climbing Fish? I would tell my friend that it's really important to grow your community, and Climbing Fish has been the best way I have found to grow a meaningful community, not just to network. It's easy to network, it's easy to give your business card, it's easy to have a 5 minute fluff conversation. It's very difficult to get a meaningful connection. And with Climbing Fish, I've been really able to grow my community. And I have some incredible people in my community now that I wouldn't call just acquaintances. I would call friends. I would call people that I trust. And that is something that is enjoyable. And if you really want to grow your community, which you should join Climbing Fish. Sure. So the neat thing about Climbing Fish, I think, is that it might be best for an introvert or someone that's an ambivert. However, I found that it's really best for anyone. It's great. I mean, all you really need to be is someone who has a lot of passion. So the number one thing is you need to really care. You need to know, what is it that I want to do? What is it that I want people to remember me for? Not just the paycheck, not just the BMW, not just that you had a VP next to your name. It's you need to be someone who is passionate, that really cares about something meaningful, and is willing to risk going out there and telling people your story. Fun. Fun and empowering. Fun and empowering are my two words. Just, I know this sounds silly, but it's just been a tremendous amount of fun getting to meet people that I really would not be able to meet and be able to ask them the question that you never really get to ask. It's the question, what is your story? You know, when you're at a bar or you're at a restaurant or you're at a meetup, it's that question where you're looking over and you're going, I wonder what that person's story is. Or you're in the elevator, right? I wonder what that person's story is. You never get to ask them because that would be pretty awkward in an elevator. Hey, what's your story? But with Climbing Fish, you really get introduced to people and you really get to find out what is it that drives them? Why are they doing the work that they're doing? And learning their story and getting that sense of trust empowers me to do greater work, to do better work, to do more meaningful work, work that I will be proud to be remembered for. Selecting the three books was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. At first, I had three books. I looked at my bookshelves and all the books, and I looked in the books that are in my dresser. I have a lot of books in my in my apartment, and I looked at them all. I said, "Geez, which ones would be the three that I would say define who I am?" And I ended up choosing three completely different books. But one that I'll highlight is I chose a book that was the first book that I read from first word to last word, and it was in college, which is surprising because I love to read. And I read a lot in high school, but I never finished a book because I had so much I needed to do, whether it was a sport or homework or whatever, all the classes that I had to take. But in college, I got introduced to a book, The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien, and I coincidentally was able to meet Tim O'Brien. And through his story, he asks really deep existential questions. Why am I here? What am I doing? What are the things that I carry with me? And that really got me to take a look at people and say, what are the things that people carry? And that's carried on throughout my entire life. Because I want to know, who is that person? Why are they doing what they're doing? And it's beautiful when you get to see that other people are caring just as much as you are. Sure, I've met people from all different walks of life, and that's probably one of the neatest things about Climbing Fish is I've gotten to meet people that I honestly would probably never meet just because of where we go for coffee or where we go out to eat or the meetups that we do. I would maybe just our lives would never intersect. But because of Climbing Fish, I've had people say, hey, you need to meet this person because of, for instance, coffee. And I got to meet who's now a good friend of mine, a guy who works over at Google. But he does something at Google that is something way out of my field of expertise and also something that I would never pick up a book to read about. But yet we both love coffee to a real dorky extent. And so we both got to get connected over that connection of coffee, and we talk about, well, more than coffee, obviously, but it was that unique idiosyncratic similarity that we share that another Climbing Fish member recognized, and then connected the two of us. So there's been two major outcomes that I really love to share with people. For number one, I get to start my own entrepreneurial work. I got to start up two podcasts that not only are bringing in a nice chunk of change, but they also are just something that I really believe in, that I honestly never would have thought would be something that I could do. I didn't really have maybe the esteem to be able to do it. I listened to a lot of podcasts, but then I've always wanted to start one up. But by meeting other people in Climbing Fish, I grew my skill as an interviewer, and I got to meet excellent people, really interesting people, and I said, you know what, I need to share their story. It's not just something that I want to do, I need to do it. Also, as a teacher, I've really been able to make some incredible lessons. And I love how, with Climbing Fish, as a teacher, I was able to reach out to people that are in the real world, right? And find out what are their skills, what are they doing, and then go back to the school and say, well, how are our textbooks, how are our lessons matching the skills that our students are going to need when they graduate high school? And it's really given me a real world tangible means to modify my lessons. So one particular lesson that really stood out is I was introduced to something going on at Google called Connected Classrooms, and I had no idea what that was beforehand. And I was able to have a Socratic circle with my students. Get this, 1 year after Sandy Hook, I had my students do a Google Hangout Socratic Circle discussion with students in Somalia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and then other students in Virginia Beach in the United States on gun violence, 1 year after one of the saddest school shootings that we had here in the United States. And it was such a beautiful lesson where my students walked away and they said, thanks, Mr. Guay, that was really meaningful, that was really awesome. I never ever get to, I never thought that I would be able to talk with students over in Pakistan. And then I got to see that they had these great similarities, and it really taught them empathy, that in a way that honestly is way better than any textbook or any lesson could ever do. So I'm incredibly thankful for that. There's been a lot of funny moments. Yeah, there's been plenty of them. Besides just meeting people as they're, just hearing their stories. But one particular funny event has been walking with someone that I got to meet. And we're walking and we're all serious because we just met each other. We have our personas on, our business personas. And then all of a sudden he smells these salted roasted nuts that they have in Times Square. And he goes crazy and he becomes a kid again. And I got to see him, he goes, do you mind if I go and get these? He's all embarrassed. So he gets the salted nuts, and then he starts sharing his story of how when he was in the UK, he would come to the United States on family vacation. And those salted nuts just really warmed him up. I don't know, it was just these funny little kid-like stories that he would share. And that was just hilarious, and it really broke the ice right away, and we had an amazing meetup. It was a good time. And honestly, that's one of the things I love about Climbing Fish, is you get to really get beyond the facade that we all put on in our professional personas. And facade's not the correct word, persona is the correct word. We all have these personas because we want people to know that we care, that we are doing great, meaningful work. But then when you dig through those personas, you get to see the real human behind that, the child in all of us that we all eventually want to share with people once we know that we trust them. And so yeah, so there's been plenty of funny moments, but the salted nuts is the funniest one.
That's great.